We're rolling.
And here's where we're going.
It's rolling, right?
Yeah.
It is.
Let me see.
Is it? It's flashing.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, so we're going to look at some chords. These are custom chords for this moment. And we're only going to look at a 3-chord progression right now to get through the verse. So the first chord will be G. And the way we identified it was by finding F sharp. We talked about it as the group of 3. And you go down to the left most of the group of 3. And we'll call that F sharp for labeling purposes, which I mentioned earlier is the leading tone. The sound of the leading tone wants to resolve to the keynote, so this means that we're in the key of G. So the next thing we did was we went to a lower G. This is not the lowest G on the piano, but the next one up. And with this G held down, you think about a G chord, which would be play a note, skip a note, play a note, skip a note, play a note, but we're going to leave the middle note out. And we had mentioned earlier that you can do that up here for different effects. But for now, this, especially down low, that sounds muddy, and by taking out the middle note, it sounds nice and peaceful. And if you wanted to, you could add some pedal just to make a background sound. So we played that for a while just to get a nice little tone going. Now the next thing we wanted to do was duplicate these same notes. So we found the closest G to the left hand, which was here. And then this time we played the full G chord. So we played the G, skipped a note, played a note, skipped a note, played a note, and we observed that we had a total of 5 notes. 2 in the left and 3 in the right. And this gave us enough chord sound just to back up the first 2 sentences from this moment. And you were singing these instead of playing them. So I can play them on the piano, but what we want you to do is just hold that chord down. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is get to the next chord, and we noticed that it didn't sound good to keep the same chord and go to the next melody. So very gradually I explained to you to find your thumb in your left hand and go down 1 key and let go of everything else. So we're exchanging this position, G, D. In exchange we're adding a C only. And in the right hand where we had G, B, D, we're going to keep the G, so the left hand and the right hand are close to each other. We're going to let go of the B in the middle, and then now we have what would have been a 3-note chord with 1 note missing. We're going to add the note right next to that on the top. And this is a very excellent country version of a C chord. It's a G note, a D note, and an E note. And the motion between these chords is what's going to take the most practice, because we're going to go from this and in this song of From This Moment, it goes quickly through that chord, only 1 measure of that chord, to where we need to get to the next chord. And the next chord is going to be interesting. It's not very piano, it's more of a guitar chord, but it's going to sound good on this song. What we're going to do is this. Noticing right where your hands are, we're going to move the lowest note, which is called C. We're going to move it up 1 note to D. We're going to move the lowest note of the right hand up to A, and then we're just going to let go of the top note. So we're ending up with a 3-note chord which has a D in the left hand and an A and a D in the right hand. So it sounds like this. And then from here what we're going to do is work our way backwards to where we came from. and ultimately land back on the starting chord. So here's the whole progression now. It's going to be like this. And you can really kind of play any rhythm because you might use these chords to compose your own song. But again, to summarize, 3 chords to know. Chord number 1, G, D, G, B, D. Moving to chord number 2. This is a kind of C chord, a very nice one. C, G, D, C. And then going to an interesting guitar-like open D chord, back to the C, and then home to the G. And if you like to put an ending on it, you can play a low G.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.